Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the last part of our series, where we are going to be going on a ride to native token land. That's right, NFTs, or FTs, or just tokens. We don't need a smart contract to do them. We can do them all natively on Cardano, which is the great thing. So it's a very easy, straightforward process. They say that it's not the destination that matters, but the journey. And it's been a long ride. Now that we're here, let's get into it. I'm going to go and create a new directory called policy. And what we're going to be doing is generating our policy keys and our policy script, which is something that we can use to set the rules around how we mint and burn tokens, right? So it's really just a matter of having the correct keys, like how we have our payment signing key and payment verification key, the similar process to how we do it with our policy script as we sign and verify the transaction with our keys. And so it's really, you can do some more advanced stuff and select a range of what slot you want your tokens to be minted, and you can combine that with some multi-sig stuff, some scripts and how to burn, yada, yada, yada. But we're just going to be sticking to the basic stuff. So like I said, just go ahead, create a make directory policy folder, as you can see here. And we're going to generate two keys, our signing and verification key. I'm copying and pasting from the PDF document. Download that. It's in the description. Has all material. Do that. And create a new item. Call that the policy script. Boom. It's in there. It's a little policy script. Now, for Mac users, you can do this all natively in the terminal, but I haven't exactly figured to basically generate the script file with all the necessary content in it directly in terminal, but I don't really know how to do it in PowerShell entirely. Someone can tell me in the comments maybe, or flick me a DM. Yeah, so I'm just going to be doing it the manual way. So I'm going to take my verification key and hash that to give me a series of strings. And I'm going to take this format here, this is from my old document, and take this that we just hashed, our verification key file, paste that in here and save it. And now that we have that, we can grab a policy ID, which is what we're going to be using for putting into our transaction to mint how many tokens you might want to mint. Yeah, so I'm going to run that command, if I can find it. Yeah, here it is. The transaction policy ID. This is taking our script. And we'll spit out a completely different string of numbers, but we're just going to copy that because that's what we really need. So remember that text file that we made? Yeah, that. I'm just going to paste that in there as our policy ID. I'm actually going to name this LNV asset 1. Yeah, equals. Boom, boom, quotation marks, awesome. Before we do any more stuff, we're going to be doing all the metadata stuff because we're going to do on transaction metadata. We're going to be doing the no schema method. The schema method is a little bit more spaghetti-ish. It's a little bit more, finicky, as if it can't be finicky enough doing this stuff, but there's still a particular format that we have to stick to. Yeah, so in order to get started with our metadata stuff, we just, again, going to create a new file and just call it metadata.json. And voila, we have a metadata file. In the PDF, I've included just a very basic format of just the ticker name, the coin that we're minting, or whatever it is we're minting. Really, it's just really basic stuff. I took the liberty one day to actually go ahead and generate, a standard that I think that I follow, that I've been following for most of my structured data work, particularly around photographs and databases and such the like. And I came up with something like this. I use a particular format, community collaborative of structured data called schema, which basically, not the schema for Cardano, but like the schema for the structured data, which has all the different values and sort of community collaborated stuff of basically all these different terms and things that you can use, and basically incorporating with a JSON file. Again, I was just experimenting around, and I just took it around of a particular photo. I uploaded a photo to IPFS, pointed that in, and put all the relevant sort of descriptions that sort of related to the certain makes and the description. So you don't have to go as far as this. Actually, I can show you the raw sort of file that I used. Yeah, here it is. So this is the kind of format that we can stick to. And the numbers are really just a kind of an index to how it might be recognized, because it just gets converted into binary at the end of the day for it to be picked up, I guess. I think a CBOR or something, I don't know. I don't care, I'm not a computer. And yeah, so we can use these numbers as you kind of have to have those in them, and you're typically stuck to a 64 sort of character per line. So you can only sort of max out at 64 characters, I've found. You can't arbitrarily put in, say, like 150 or an entire freaking autobiography of something in here and be like, yo, I'm going to chuck that up onto the, as a transaction metadata. No, it will just scream at you and be like, hey, what are you doing? Yeah. So don't do that. Just keep it nice, short and small, sort of simple values. You can put in, I don't know, basic licensing stuff. You can really stretch this out because you can put in a maximum of about 16 kilobytes, I think. And I think this file is about 6 kilobytes, like Ks, just bytes, I think. Yeah. Anyway, so with that out of the way, I'm just going to copy this boilerplate, 6969, Melon coin, big sexy melons, your typical melon site, and the address of the receiver or the person minting it, which is me. And yeah, save that. You can go ahead, change it, whatever you want, just so you know. Anyway, now that we're back here, I'm going to be basically generating the transaction and actually submitting that. So like we did in the last video, if you hadn't watched that we basically fed it into a bunch of variables. We're going to basically be doing the exact same thing, maybe with a couple of different new ones. And I'm actually going to get rid of that. And the new one being our asset in variable, which is this one here, as you can see. Very cool. Excuse me. And the way how we do this is basically going down into the JSON file. Oh yeah, and we also put our metadata JSON as an external variable. So to begin, I actually need to query this stuff. So I need to get the input. Yeah, this is going to take a little bit. It's grunt work. You know how to do this. So I'll skip ahead, and once I've got it all set up, we'll continue on with the next part. Okay. When I'm building the asset variable, it's important to note that when structuring out, not just to leave like the policy ID that we generated in there, but rather structured out like with a 5 of whole being X, how many tokens you want to mint. So if it's a fungible token, it would be just 1. But I'm just going to create a bunch of tokens because I can. And at the end, just going to put a period with the obviously matching camel case for Melon coin, matching the name here. It's just for namesake. You could name it whatever we want, but really just to match things a little bit easier, it's basically straightforward to name it what we want to name our token. Cool. Now it's on to building the transaction. Now, like last time, we have the similar structure, but in this sense, like I said, we're not doing a schema method, so we've got the metadata no schema. I didn't actually incorporate the idea of how we might actually, what the difference between schema and no schema is. I'm not going to show you because I don't really entirely know the difference properly. I know that schema can be a little bit more finicky, certainly from what I've seen. But again, I might be prying there a little bit. So we're just going to stick with no JSON, no metadata schema. I found that it's just a little bit more easier. Okay. So we're plugging in our metadata file here, and the extra variable is being our mint. And with the transaction out, we have included both the asset that is being sent to the address of whatever address you're sending it to. So I'm going to go ahead and copy in these variables. Cool. And now that that's done, it's just the same process as the last video with the basic minting or basic transaction sending whatever thingy, of just going through the process of building the raw transaction, calculating the fee, signing it, and submitting. It's really that straightforward. The only difference is just, the added variables being the metadata and the minting process being minted in the transaction out as itself. Typically, you can stitch them together. I think stitch is a single output, unspent output with the ADA, as you have to have ADA to be sent in a transaction currently, with the token being a token bundle, as per of the extended UTXO model. Thank you, Cardano. Okay, so now that I built it, I'm going to run the the fee variable or calculation fee, so I can get a good idea of what my fee is going to be. And it's going to be a 184,905 Lovelace. Or if we put it down to decimal point, 1.8 Lovelace. ADA, I think. I'm not really good with my math. Don't judge me. Okay, so again, rebuild the fee variable. Just like that. Then it's just a matter of rebuilding the transaction again. Oh, no, that's the fee one. There we go. Rebuild it again, and then we sign it. And the interesting part about signing this is that this time we have our signing key from the policy file that we generated, a policy folder, and the policy script. Now, you can't really necessarily say, I've seen a couple of things where people post their policy scripts or policy scripts out there, and I'm like, why would you do that? Very early on, but I didn't really know what the hell was going on, and I was really just sort of exploring this area of how Cardano was doing it. But yeah, you need the signing key to basically enable the minting of that particular script of the ID that it's been hashed from. So you can't just take the script and then use a completely different signing key that isn't hashed from the verification key of the same key pairs to then basically mint a token from that script. So yeah, only those that have the signing keys can do that. So I've got that command, time to sign the transaction, boom, just like that. And now for the moment of painfulness, it's time to submit our file. Please don't crash. Yes. Okay. Sweet. I didn't send myself back change in that transaction. I probably should have, but I just consumed the whole output, which is okay. That's totally okay. If we look now, we can see that in the context here, we obviously have to give it a little bit of time to wait. So typically 30 seconds for a transaction to be processed. And yeah, once that's done, okay, now that it's been sent, as you can see, the whole output has been spent. And if we go over into our data list, you can see that we have a nice little token bundle which contains both our metadata and the ADA that has been sent. Now, if I actually jump into the block explorer, how dare you? How dare you deny me? Hold on. Transaction ID. There we go. So our 5 ADA and our nice little bit sexy mulling coins. And if we show the unmoderated content, you can tell that obviously that number that we have is completely meaningless. You can it just needs to be in there for it to be indexed. So the order of how things are done just it's followed format of how it gets processed, right? So as you can see, we have our lovely metadata. This description is a description about big sexy mullins, as it should be. Cool. And that's how we do things here. If you want to stick around to learn how to burn them, you can. But if not, this is how we mint tokens. Thanks for joining. And for you little burning people over there, let's go ahead and burn some tokens, because I want to burn some tokens. Now, burning this probably is, again, really straightforward. It's just a matter of subtracting the amount of tokens we have as an output and sending it back to us minus the minted assets that we had. So I'm going to send these back to me. And I need to grab my address again. Okay, we're back into the world of the living. All right, now, like I said, it's just burning tokens are really incredibly straightforward and incredibly quick also. So I'm going to go query this and then build the only necessary appropriate variables that we have, which just happens to be our transaction in, which contains this unspent output and the amount of Lovelace that it has. And the only difference is when we actually, again, with the asset, and instead of actually minting 5 more, we actually want to just take away using a negative number instead. And that's all we have to do. Yeah, so I'm going to be building these environment variables again. Oh, shit. Yep. And set that to that, and set this to that, and set this to that, and cool. Awesome. Right. And really, it's the same stuff, man. It's literally just taking the same... actually, we don't need the JSON part in there. We can get rid of that and get rid of this. And just have this small little transaction. And we just go through the same process as before. Oh, why is it crashing on me? All right, so now that that little error has been passed, in the output, I put in the adding in the environment, the asset as an output, but we don't want to do that. We only want to put it into the minting sort of aspect of our transaction build. So yeah, when building a transaction, make sure you keep that part out. It's quite important. Yeah, so go ahead, copy that, build this, wham, just like that. Then we calculate a fee. Only got one witness, i.e. being me, so it's just a matter of building the fee variable again. env fee equals, cool. That's our fee done. And now we rebuild our transaction again. And then it's a matter of signing and submitting. So I'm just going to do the real quick. You know the drill. And submit. Cool. So now that we've submitted everything, it would take a while, again, 30 seconds or more. So I'll come back when that part is over. Okay. My transaction has been sent, just popped up in my Daedalus wallet. And as you can see, we only have the ADA received, and we've completely burned the 5 tokens that we minted just before in the transaction that we just made and submitted. And just like that, burning tokens is that straightforward. That's the basic stuff of everything of minting tokens. That's all I have for you today. Yeah. I'll be doing some maybe a little bit more advanced videos about especially looking into the multi-sig stuff and maybe peering a little bit more into the metadata standard that I've been sort of following along, maybe looking into schema.org and how I might do this kind of stuff and a little bit making things a little bit more sense, especially if you're doing crypto art or maybe different forms of NFTs that require, different kinds of information. And, I might go over that a little bit. Let me know in the comments. Also, like I said, multi-sig stuff and the difference between what makes an NFT and a fungible token. So I might make those later on. But anyway, it's been a blast. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the future.